Hey, this is Joe Luciano, owner of the Ipswich Homes website and realtor with Bentley's. Today I'm going to go over the Ipswich real estate market, a few of the highlights of what it's like living in Ipswich, Mass, and finally I'm going to leave you with whether or not you should consider moving to Ipswich. I'm going to leave time codes in the description below so you can skip ahead to whichever part you're interested in. Starting off with the Ipswich real estate market. Last year in 2022, the single family average sales price was $842,453, which is up from $828,120 the year before. That's less than a 2% increase. There was, however, a near 14% increase on the average price per square foot for single families, which went to $384 a square foot, up from $337. The average sales price for condos in Ipswich was $666,472, which is up from $587,535. That's actually an increase of over 13%. And in price per square foot, there was an over 17% increase, which went from $326 to $381. Last year, there were a total of 119 single-family sales, which, funny enough, is exactly the same as there were in 2021, so zero change there. As for the condo market, we only saw 62 condo sales last year, which was up just from 55. So zooming out on the market, we really did see a pretty level market from last year and the year before. In the single family market, prices were pretty much level at less than 2%, exact same number of sales. Condos, we saw a much bigger shot up in price, but I'm going to get into in a second just why that was and what it really comprises of and what it's made up of. So that kind of covers last year compared to the year before, but currently there are a total of 11 single family listings and 5 condo listings. As of filming this video, that's all there is right now, 16 total listings. Of what's currently listed, only 3 of the single family listings are new listings. The others have been on the market for some time. And as for the condos, only 1 of those is new and the others have all been on for some time now. A lot of what's out there and what's been sitting is new construction. We've seen a lot of new construction in Ipswich recently. Namely the Farm Village on Dowbrook Circle and the 55 plus community over on Primrose Lane. These new construction listings are much higher than the typical average home that's been resold in Ipswich. So that kind of helps explain why the average sales price is so much higher. This influx of new construction listings is inflating the average sales price per the MLS numbers for both condos and single families. So that kind of helps explain why condos were $666 and single families were over $800,000 once again. When it comes to Ipswich real estate, Ipswich is one of the towns in the area with the lower turnover rates. The turnover rate is calculated by taking the total number of home sales in a certain area and then dividing it by the total number of households that were sellable. So if we were to take the 181 total sales out of the 5,573 households, which is per the US Census, that comes out to a 3.25% turnover rate in Ipswich. Now that number, 3.25, is actually pretty on par with the area. A lot of the nearby towns you'll see in the mid 3s, some of them are into 4 range, but very rarely do you see things go under 3% or in the 2s. But you might be wondering if I just said that Ipswich is one of the lower turnover rates, it's right on par this year. Well, that's actually a lot in part due to the new construction. So as I had mentioned earlier, Ipswich had this introduction of a lot of new construction listings. So in my mind, when you think of the term turnover, of course it's considered in the calculation because it is a sale and it's going against the total number of households that are in the town. But the word itself of turnover kind of implies that something has to turn over. So in the case of new construction, you're dealing with basically raw land and you're creating a house. You basically are taking this ratio and you have your numerator and denominator and you're adding to both sectors because you're adding to the total number of households and you're creating a sale. So to get a better accurate estimate on the turnover rate in Ipswich, I think it kind of helps to remove the new construction from the picture because nothing's actually turning over in that case. You just have a builder creating and then selling. What I'm trying to get at there is that if someone doesn't have to sell their home, it's not a resale, it's not really quite a turnover. So to get a more accurate measure on the turnover rate, I went through the sales data for last year. So of the 181 total sales last year, 37 of those were new construction, 30 of which were condos, 7 single families. It was kind of a weird balance last year because you have a lot of these new single families that are also condos. Basically a detached condo where you have a shared septic, private road, So it could be listed either or. Technically speaking, it's a condo, but it lives like a single family, so it's kind of a weird balance in that case. But if you were to remove those 37 listings from the 181, that brings the turnover rate of Ipswich down to 2.6%. I know I kind of fudged the numbers there a little bit, but 2.6% is substantially lower than what you'll see in most areas. I know we're only talking about like 0.5% difference or 0.75%, but we're talking 0.75% on over 5,000 households. That's not an insignificant number. From what I've seen, there's a lot of people that have lived in Ipswich, that want to live in Ipswich, and there's really not a lot of people that want to leave Ipswich, which I think that speaks very highly of what it's actually like living in Ipswich. That's a nice segue to my next little part. It's almost like I did that on purpose, of what it's like living in Ipswich. I'm going to start off with some of the things to do and highlights of being in Ipswich. Starting off, you have the Crane Estate and Crane Beach. Crane Beach is widely regarded as one of the best beaches in the Northeast, and residents of Ipswich get to enjoy a discounted sticker pass for the year, and they basically can go to Crane Beach at a much lower rate than non-members or members of the trustees get to go. Castle Hill, of course, is part of the Crane Estate. This is a 59,000 square foot mansion with rolling hills looking out over the Atlantic. This is managed by the trustees. On Thursdays in the summer, they usually have their picnic concerts, which are always a good time. There's also a number of farms and farm stands in Ipswich. You have Marini, Russell Orchards, Appleton Farm, and of course the Northern Lights farm stand, each having their own advantage and signature. Marini has their corn maze in the fall. Russell Orchards is where you would go to pick apples. It's on Argilla Road on your way towards Cranes Beach. Appleton Farm is managed by the trustees, and that is also on the line of Hamilton, but that's where you would go. It's one of the oldest running farms, or the oldest continuously running farms in America. Very cool place, and they usually have their events and different things you can do to get involved. Notably in Ipswich, you also have the Clam Box. I can't talk about Ipswich and not at least mention the Clam Box. The Clam Box is a nationally recognized landmark, and not to mention their top tier seafood. Driving along High Street, it's hard to miss with its signature roof style that makes it look like a takeout box. You also have Pavilion Beach, which is located in between Great Neck and Little Neck. Pavilion is a free option. It is, however, resident parking only on the weekends and holidays, which of course is another benefit to being an Ipswich resident. For all of the golfers out there, you have the Ipswich Country Club and the golf club at Turner Hill, each having their own 18-hole course and plenty of amenities for their members to enjoy. So that barely scratches the surface on some of the highlights of Ipswich, but hopefully it gives you a decent picture of kind of what Ipswich is about and what you could expect living there. I had a lot more places and points I wanted to hit, and then I kind of looked at the projected length of this video and I was like, that is not going to fit into this video. So you're going to have to subscribe if you want to see more of Ipswich's highlights and different things you could do in Ipswich, as I'm definitely going to have to make another video down the line talking about it. So I've really only covered some of the things that you could expect in Ipswich, but I haven't really talked too much on what it's actually like living in Ipswich. The atmosphere of Ipswich is generally peaceful and quaint. There's this mix of small town friendliness and a sense of history and tradition in Ipswich. One thing that I've noticed from living in the neighboring town of Rowley, there's just this sense of community in Ipswich where everyone just seems to know everyone. Moving on to the location of Ipswich, Ipswich is next to Essex, Hamilton, Topsfield, Boxford, and it's just south of Rowley. It's of course a coastal town being right on the ocean with its beaches and salt marshes. If you were looking for a waterfront property, you could probably find that on Great Neck or Little Neck. We don't see a ton of listings here, but when we do, they usually get scooped up pretty quickly. Ipswich does not have direct access to 95 if that's something that's important to you. It does, however, have access to Route 1. If you wanted to get to 95, you would just have to do a quick shoot through either Rowley or Boxford and then you'd be on it. I think according to the US Census, the average commute in Ipswich is about 29 minutes. The drive into Boston, however, is 45 minutes, though Ipswich does have its own commuter rail right in downtown, so of course, if that's something that is important to you, it is there as well. Now, if you are thinking of moving to Ipswich, it's a really great location to either raise a family or retire to, as per all of the reasons we've already mentioned so far in this video. Most of what you'll ever need is available right in town, which makes it super convenient. People that live in Ipswich or have lived in Ipswich for a very long time generally have no desire to leave Ipswich and plan on staying in Ipswich. I recall doing showings before for people that maybe had grown up in Ipswich and then moved away, and now that they were hitting the point where they were growing a family of their own, they really wanted to come back to Ipswich, which I think speaks a lot to what Ipswich is like and what it's about. Ultimately, it comes down to your price point and what's important to you. If Ipswich is a place that you might be interested in moving to, reach out and let's chat. Despite the relatively high sales price, there are options at basically every price point in Ipswich. Of course, you might not get everything you want. You're not going to get waterfront at an entry-level price point, but you can definitely get into Ipswich at a more friendly, budget-friendly price point than the average in the 800s. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, a like would be greatly appreciated. Be sure to subscribe to the channel as I plan to cover all the different towns in the North Shore, and also I'm going to go more in depth on different attractions in Ipswich specifically, so subscribe and stay tuned for that. I'll be posting new videos every Friday. Drop a comment down below on which town you'd like to see me cover next. I'd also love to hear your thoughts on where you think the Ipswich real estate market is heading in the near future. Follow me on Instagram at Joe's Homes. All of my links and contact info can be found in the description below. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home in Ipswich, Massachusetts or a nearby town, give me a shout. I'm your guy. But until then, thanks for watching.